Hey everybody, Chris Fafalius here. As many of you may know, I've played in the band Punchline for most of my life. Well, I'm here to tell you that we just released a new song. It's called Can I Get a Break? And I think the title of the song, which is also the main hook of the song, is pretty relatable to how we're all feeling lately. Here's a little preview for you.
How many times am I gonna have to start again? How many times am I gonna have to refresh? 'Cause I put my shoes on every day and I walk out that door. I'm getting tired, waiting patiently for progress. Can I get a break? No, 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 no. Can I get a break? No, 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 no. I don't wanna be the one who...
Can I Get a Break by my band Punchline is now streaming at all the places where you can listen to music. So if you like the way it sounds, go check it out.
Everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week, we are talking about a movie that I picked. This guy over here said, let's watch Bitchin' Sorority Babes from the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama, or at least that was the title that Charles Band really wanted to use.
I knew, so I was like, who picked this? I was like, if Matt picked it, he's going to flub the name so hard because I have trouble with it, and I don't even have the same trouble speaking as Matt does. And I was like, it had to be Kyle, right? It had to be Kyle. No, it was Matt. It's Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama. We got that off the table.
Twister.
Let's not say it ever again. In the next 40 minutes, we're just done speaking the name. You know what it is now.
You can't use it for the Roku voice detection. I tried to say it so many times, and it started playing something called Slimeball 2 on Spotify, and I'm like, I can't. I don't like you anymore.
Doesn't that make you feel better though, because you know that the robot overlords aren't smart enough to take over yet?
I do love to chalk a point up for the humans on those things.
Yeah,
that's my favorite win. Because we don't have a lot of them anymore. And if I can win over Roku, then we're in good company. It's good.
Matt, why'd you pick it?
So I picked it because of a couple reasons. Number one, I mean, what a title. But secondly, this was like one of those films I had heard of for a really long time. I think I read somewhere that this is considered the best film of like the short-lived USA Up All Night, like kind of the way that some people have like their favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode. This was like one of those movies that they played late night that like plenty of people saw, and
everybody would call in and request it. That's what it was. It was the most requested USA Up All Night. I did read that in the IMDb trivia. I think it's just because there were titties in it.
Yeah, but it was USA. They had to trim them out.
How do you even have a movie? The movie's an hour and 20.
I tried.
It's 79 minutes. How do you even have a 79-minute movie?
In the late 90s, David Spade did a stand-up special for HBO, and there is one joke that is sat rent-free in my brain since I saw that, which was him talking about the USA Network. And he's like, the USA Network is the most worthless channel that has ever been built in the history of television. He goes, because let's just address it. We all know that there's some movies that are made that they pretty much just exist to get a little boobage out there. And he's like, the USA Network purchases these movies and cuts out the only reason to watch them and airs wall-to-wall bullshit for 24 straight hours. But his example was, he's like, they'll get something like Summer Vacation 17, and you're just watching like these idiots just bumble around, and then they're like, hey guys, it's a boob fest, and then it's like jump cut, man, what a great boob fest.
It's literally guys looking through windows. Like, it's dude's like, oh my god,
And there's
holy
only 3
shit, those knockers, because of course
Yeah,
they
they're
would
on
say
straight tip
knockers.
patrol like it was in Sleepaway
Yeah,
Camp too.
yeah, exactly.
There's only 3 angles that you can ever shoot boys looking through windows. Like there's through the window, there's the left side, and then the right side, and that's the only way.
You can get from behind and then have it like zoom. I think I've seen that in. I think that might have been
okay.
Sorority House Massacre, which is the one that I do not remember very well.
Looking through the window with them as the point of view,
Yeah.
but then you get the boobs, so that know.
You're right.
There's
Well,
USA
maybe-
only has
maybe
3
we could-
angles.
Oh, yeah, maybe we could get one where it goes up, and then it has the problem with that I have every time I try to take a picture through or video through my windows is the screen gets in the way,
The
and
screen and the focus.
Like the focus is never there, so you never get to see the tids.
We have so many woodland creatures I try to take pictures of in our yard. That's just all screen. It's all
Exactly.
screen, baby.
Dude, like,
a fucking. The
our
imp could literally have gone through our yard, and I wouldn't have gotten a goddamn picture of them.
They'd be like, "What is that? A walking turd?"
Yeah.
They wouldn't
So-
be wrong
Yes.
either, because that's about what
wouldn't
this
be
what Uncle Impie looks like. Matt, do you want to like dive into the movie, or do you want me to give a quick synopsis? How do you want to?
So let me explain a little bit real quick. So I did grab this one time from the Full Moon table at Comic-Con, because usually we're so close to the Full Moon table that I always just take a peek, see what they've recently put on Blu-ray. I had heard so many good things about this particular movie. I know specifically Linnea Quigley still speaks very highly about making this movie, because it's one of the few films she doesn't get naked in, which she said was like a real blessing
That was
for her.
the selling point for her. Is Dave DeCocto came to? Is that how you say his name? We should
I
ask
think
our
so.
resident
David Ducatu.
David DeCocto's sorority girls in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama is how it is. Its full name. That was the selling point. He came to her and was like, or maybe it was. No, he came to her, right? And he with the script.
And he
was like,
said,
"What do you
"Any
wanna
role
be?"
you want.
And she took Spider
Yeah.
because there was no nudity. Yeah.
Yep.
I know that Charles
She's
Band
great.
sold this as the Imp with a completely different cover,
Yep.
and then was like, when he got whoever wrote it to write it, he was like, yeah, so I need you to write this ASAP, and also take out the Imp as the title, because it no longer jives with the it's no longer sellable, which I want to know what that time
Did you
frame
guys know
was.
that there was an imp in this movie? No, for real. Like, because I was of the mind, and I wrote this down. Which Matt, you already spoke upon it a little bit. Like, so it was a cult movie that had a following. I remember seeing the advertisement in Fangoria for like a DVD release, right? And I was of the age at the time where I was like, oh, if it's in Fangoria, then it must be of some importance. It doesn't even matter if it was like ad space. I was just like, it's in Fangoria, so it's important. I'm 13 years old. And then I watched it, and I was like, I hated this, by the way. I had no fun.
This is my
I
third
had
watch,
zero fun.
and it has never gotten better.
It's
just
never
so you
fun
know.
for me. But I did not know that. All that to say, I was like, the Imp comes in, and I'm like, I've never seen a toy or a meme or like anything. And then I started questioning myself. I was like, was this really even a cult or popular movie, or did I just assume such because I had so much faith in Fangoria and their advertising but Matt, you already answered. It did.
Yeah, but it was like, I feel like it was just like Scott said, it was the combination of a ridiculous title and boobs. Like, and that's like pretty much all it's got going for it.
It's really
But there's-
not fun though. Like, Kyle, what's your beer?
Just a Budweiser,
Yes!
one Budweiser that I'm gonna get drunk on.
You were going with the one Budweiser to get you drunk.
I did get a 16 ounce though, so I'm gonna be blackout. So just everybody be mindful.
Yeah. And the thing about this movie that I hate the most, and I mean, I don't hate this movie. Like, I don't have very strong feelings. I just don't enjoy it.
No.
It
Yeah,
is a movie
I'm
that
in the
I
same
really
boat.
would love to never watch again. That's really the thing I feel about it. But the thing that I dislike the most is the fact that they're not even trying to be funny.
Nope.
It's
No,
not
they're not.
unintentionally funny, and it's not intentionally funny. It's just so middle of the road, and the acting is so fucking stupid. And Linnea, bless her heart, I love Linnea Quigley. She is an absolute doll of a human being, but I feel like she's not leading lady material, because everything that she says in this is just trash from Return of the Living Dead snark. Like, it's the same snark that she has and I watch Nightmare Sisters as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of Linnea stuff, but she really only has one like attitude to give, and I don't think that Spider needed to be like, yeah, for everything. You know, like it just nothing about this movie works in a fun way, and nothing about this movie doesn't work in a fun way. It's just it exists, and so
It's just
like
there.
I want to go back to like fucking 93 when USA Up All Night was playing this shit back to back, and people were like calling in saying they want to see it again because I don't know what that cut had, because I watched the
I'm
regular
very
cut. I
interested in
don't
that
know what
cut.
it is. And if
I
you take
think-
out the boobs, like, and I'm not even a fan of the boobs in this movie because it's not sexy, it's just gratuitous.
No,
It's
the water
gratuitous
pressure of the shower scene was so bad that they took 10 minutes to get the whipped cream off of Brink
Can
Stevens.
I say that nothing is less sexy than imagining a woman covered in whipped cream, because you know how fast that shit curdles? All I could do watching this was just think about how bad she must have smelled. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean
Not the character. You mean like the actual, like the process of...
getting clean. Like, if that really, if they, okay, so let's just say that they were doing the initiation and they covered her in both the girls in whipped cream, right? And then of course they got cleaned off, and then an hour later they get in for the shower scene, and poor Lisa, I can't remember what her name is. I think actually
I
Lisa's the
literally
other
just
one.
had to pull the wiki page just to get people's names because I was like, I don't remember.
They're
a
all
single
just
name
There's
of a
people.
Spider,
character
there's
in this.
Babs.
Spider was lucky. Oh, Babs, yeah.
Babs is the head of the sorority. I don't give a fuck what any of the dudes' names are. They're like Brian. They're all Brians. Like there
They're
are
all
three
One
Brians
is
in this
Jimmy
movie.
and one is Keith.
Okay, all right.
Like
So
they
I was
are
close.
very forgettable
Um,
names. And Calvin, Jimmy, Keith, and Calvin.
Yeah, okay. And then Babs. So also this sorority is tiny. There are 3 active members, and there are 2 initiates.
Well, also,
2
they're
pledges,
supposed to be tri-delt, and the letters on the front are not.
Yeah,
and there's
it's-
no
it's
delta
not
in the
delta,
tri.
delta,
It's the greatest. It's the greatest.
That is
It's
one
like,
thing
come
that I
on.
like is how this was also filmed in 12 fucking days, 12 nights, by the way, because they didn't even have the budget to rent the bowling alley during the day.
No.
They had to wait until it closed at 9 p.m., shoot for 12 hours, and then be done and cleaned up by 9 a.m.
It's a real Kevin Smith making Clerks type story where
Yeah.
it's like we have the times that the
Are
building
we really
is
putting
closed
this
to
in the
film
same category
everything.
as Clerks? I mean, I don't love Clerks, but I would watch Clerks again.
Well, we got to start. We'll start at the very beginning with this. All right. Well, I mean, the movie is. I'm trying to here's the best that I can come up with for why the people watching USA Up All Night, whatever reason, ate this movie up, is kind of the one thing that I like about it, but I could also see why anybody else with half a brain would hate this, is that it feels like 2 separate movies just gotten melded together. Like the first 45 minutes of this movie have no hinting to what the last 30 minutes of this movie is in the slightest. Like it's just like sea-level Porkies, and then out of nowhere it's just like, and here's a puppet. Like here's a cheap puppet that, like, is it racist? I can't figure out if that accent that they gave this thing is racist or not.
I
It makes me
can't
feel uncomfortable.
Either. I hate it.
No, it's-
I really
Yeah,
dislike.
it's
okay,
really-
sorry. I don't want to use
it's
the H
really-
word. I really dislike it. It's not funny. It's not fun.
No.
And the,
no,
the
it's
prop
and I,
is so shit that actually I think I might use Uncle Impie. Holy crap, guys! So you know how every October I do the Spooktober riff on Instagram, where I do a riff a day for the month of October. I've done that 1, 2, 3, 4 years now. This will be year 5. Year 1
anniversary.
was Cheddar Goblin. Year 2 was that cute little monster from, I want to say, season 2 of Creep Show. Number 3, or year 3 was the was one of the cock monsters from Rock and Roll Nightmare. And then last year's was what was that movie where the monster crawls out of his butthole? Bad
Milo?
Bad Milo, yeah.
Milo,
So
yeah.
I guess this year has to be Uncle Impie because there is a theme to the pictures that I use.
I don't
Also,
hate that.
I just want to throw out that by the end of this October, you'll have created 150 spooky riffs in 5 years.
Wait,
Or 31, I guess more than that.
yeah.
there are a couple
Yeah,
where
you
I
can do
did one on November 1st as well. So let's just do 31.
Yeah,
A
so
little
there-
bonus?
Let's say
124
160.
plus
Yeah.
31. Yeah, 155. Matt, I've given
Wait,
you
and that's
shit.
your first full moon creature is going to be the imp?
Well, I'm always going for little
Yeah.
obscure creatures as the
Obscure
Spooktober
is the
because they're
key word I
it's
was gonna
15
say.
Yes,
seconds.
and I did not know it existed until like a half hour ago, so we're fine.
Yeah, so Uncle Impie might have to be this year's. You guys, if I'm coming to you in a couple months, I'm like, hey, guys, what did I say back in the summer about what I'm going to use for my Spooktober Rift picture? Remember, it's Uncle Impie, okay?
Remember this day.
Yes.
Remember
Got it locked.
this
You
day.
fucking
but yeah,
remember
so-
forever.
So the movie starts off with these 3 nerds hanging out, and the whole impetus of the entire plot is that one guy just wants a beer, and Stooge from Night of the Demons won't give him a beer, but he's like, if I tell you where the sorority's initiation is at, will you give me a beer? And he's like, sure. And that's
Are we the 3 guys?
we may be.
I don't really want to conjecture which one of us is which. But I also love
I mean,
that-
Kyle's the one drinking a beer, so we got to
All right,
start.
I guess
so,
he's the survivor boy.
but
But
I was
we have
gonna
to mention that Hal Havens, aka Stooge, got that part because Linnea was
Because
like,
of Linnea.
I liked doing Night of the Demons with him, and she brought him on.
Oh,
Well,
that's how I recognize him.
and
Okay.
him in that opening scene, I don't know where they ADR'd his lines for one scene, but it sounds like he's in a can. Like,
I mean,
it sounds like
they probably
they
did it in
handed
the
him
back
a
of
can of
Charles
beans tied to a
Band's-
string.
Yeah, exactly.
And said, "Hey, can you read these lines for us?"
If it works, it works.
But yes, we get into the movie. They spy on the sorority girls, as is the tradition of 80s films that take place at college. They find out that the sorority girls have to go to the bowling alley and steal a trophy. They steal a trophy that has a magical imp trapped inside of it, and he grants wishes, and or does he? And then also, old security guard has his like crack open a beer and be like, "It was 30 years this very day" type speech. But
I loved that guy. I took.
Way too late in the game, though.
Oh
Like,
man, he's amazing though because he can't.
he is
hear
great.
Shit.
He's my favorite part. Yeah.
Actually, I have to agree. He is the best part because Linnea Spider, I'm sorry, goes, "Enough, Pops," and he goes, "Yeah, you're right. They called the cops." And then a minute later, she
oh my
goes,
god, that bit got old so
Are
fast. They
you-
did a
No, it
full
didn't. It was
5-minute who's
amazing.
on first routine.
No, it was great because then she goes, "Sounds like an awful mess," and he goes, "Nope, he never did confess." How do you? That was the only good writing and acting in this movie. Come on, Matt.
It was.
Come on.
It was my favorite part. It was my favorite part, and I think
No
that
more
like
rhymes, and I mean it. Does anybody want a peanut?
Hey, fun little side note, guys. Megan and I were doing some work outside over the weekend, and she repotted a plant, and she came in the house while I was doing dishes after she repotted the plant, and she handed me this little, like, baby plant, and she was laughing, and I'm like, what? And she was like, a chipmunk or squirrel planted this. And I said, okay, what is it? And she said, look at it. It's a peanut. And so we have a peanut sprout that's about 4 inches tall because
Oh my
some
God.
little fucker found a peanut and planted it for later, and it just grew. So I'm gonna have like 2 peanuts at the end of the summer. Just you wait. I'm gonna be rich as fuck.
I think I fucking hate full moon movies.
No, I mean, listen.
This is Empire. This isn't Full Moon.
Oh, okay.
Listen, I go through waves about this, right? And this is how I've explained it. When I was a child in high school, I was team full moon all the way, and I thought Troma was confusing and weird, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like everything has shifted, and I'm so on board for what Troma is handing me. And most of the time when I watch even some of the old full moon movies that I like, they just feel so like cheap and tame.
Yeah.
And like as offensive and gross and in your face as Troma films get, at least the ones that they make in-house, not the ones that
Right.
they're like buying, but
Right.
the ones they make in-house, there is such a clear passion for what they're doing, and like so many Full Moon movies feel like an assembly line film, you know, where it's just like, we got to put out 10 movies this year, so we're just gonna shit these things
Did you
out.
look at the director's IMDb?
Oh, Dave is crazy.
Like
Crazy person.
8 movies,
made a talking
8
cat.
videos a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we
Well,
talk
and then
about those old
that's
like
not
giant
including his
claws-
porns. He
Oh,
did
that's
like
right.
he did
But
a
he
lot
does-
of
there
porn
are
as
like
well.
6 different names. He's got nom de
Yeah.
plumes out the ass.
No,
which
he
is one
did
of his
that-
movies.
Yeah, I'm sure. But he
No,
did a
that movie's
talking
Quill.
cat. That was the
Quill's-
big one I always remembered.
Which one did he do?
It was literally called a talking cat ! Question mark.
Matt's talked about that before on the show. He's very,
And it is, dude.
he's hell bent
hold
on having
Who
us discuss that on Patreon. I hope it never
No,
happens.
because I never want to watch it again. It was that
wants to make us
that
watch
is the definition of one where it's like it is only worth watching if you have a lot of people there having fun with it.
Yeah.
But the
Lots of
voice
Doritos.
of the cat is Eric Roberts,
no.
and it literally sounds like they just called him on speakerphone and had him read his lines from his house.
I mean,
so like
that
let's-
doesn't surprise me.
Let's
if
be
that
real
would be.
here, though. If somebody put me in a movie called A Talking Cat and wanted me to be the talking cat, I would not go into a studio. I would also not
No.
expect them to pay me or pay for a studio for me to go into it.
Right.
No, it'd
right.
be like when Fearless would like hire, or I think it was Fearless or Hopeless, reportedly like when they would reach out to a band on MySpace to be on one of those
Who's
Punk
Fearless?
Goes compilations, it would be like, all right, we want you to be on this comp. You have 3 weeks to figure out how you're going to record the song and get it to us. Good luck.
I don't
luck.
think that was Hopeless. I think that was Fearless because the Punk Goes comps were all. Those weren't Hopeless.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's
But
all
the thing
Fearless.
is that a lot of those, the first Punk Goes pop was phenomenal.
Oh, it was incredible.
I mean, that's stuff that people put out on their B-side records, and that's stuff that they played live. I saw Thrice cover "Send Me an Angel" in 2003.
Yeah.
It was a crazy day.
hell yeah.
But like, and I think that was the same summer that I saw Rufio cover "Like a Prayer" live. Those were great covers, and Thrice put their "Send Me an Angel" cover on their B-sides record. But then it gets like when you get into the
if you scroll through the
2005,
track list,
2006, it gets worse.
this is all I'll say. If you scroll through the track list of every Punk Goes album, around the 5th or 6th album, you'll start to notice less and less bands that have hyperlinks on Wikipedia as you like get deeper and deeper into it, and then you
if somebody
eventually
came
get
to
to
me and was like, "Do you want to do a Punk Goes whatever compilation?" I would find the means and the way to do it. I don't have a hyperlink
for
on YouTube
sure.
on Wikipedia.
No, for sure. But it definitely got to the point where it's like, all right, we've got 3 big name artists that have agreed to do this.
You found glory.
And then we'll
Always
fill out
Newfound-
the other 10 slots with whoever's like got the most fans on MySpace right
Yeah,
now and call it a
Student
day.
Rick.
Yeah,
Dude,
Student Rick though,
Student
that
Rick, I
that
saw
cover's
them
great.
live. They're fun. I saw them play that one live too. But I saw them. Here's the craziest thing about Student Rick is that I saw them open on the craziest fucking lineup that I can imagine. Student Rick opened the show, Coheed and Cambria, and then it was the starting line. They were just about to drop "Say It Like You Mean It," so they were
Oh, shit.
they were like, I think that when I saw them, they were 3 weeks out from "Say It Like You Mean It" dropping, and then Finch was touring for "What It Is to Burn," and everyone was there for Finch. It was absolutely
time.
amazing. But to think about like Student Rick on that lineup, like no one knows Student Rick. Kyle pulled that out of his ass because he was looking at the Punk Goes Pop
Yeah,
compilation.
because I was trying to be funny, and then I just got
I actually
schooled
like I saw them.
by teacher Rick. Couldn't believe it.
So 2 of the only notes I wrote down was, "Is this racist?" which is of course in reference to the imp, and then the other one
I think the
was,
answer's
"Is
yes.
this sexist?"
I think the answer is
Because-
yes.
because here's the thing. I'm like, this feels sexist.
Yeah.
It certainly does. But then there's that awkward scene where the kid is like rejecting the idea of sex because he is recognizing that the woman is not like making decisions under her own volition. And I'm like,
He's like, "Let's get you some water," and she says something to the effect of like, "Is this water at a time like this?" You know, like it's fantastic.
but I'm like, man, I would very rarely say the word progressive while talking about sorority babes in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama, but the idea that
you got it, dude.
I know. I really had to think about it though. Like I had to stare intently at the page.
I'm fully torqued right now.
But the idea that you have a movie in the 80s, a college movie nonetheless, where a character's like, hey, babe, you don't seem like you're fully there and we can't move forward with this. Meanwhile, like this is like a year after like Revenge of the Nerds, where it's like, it's okay if they like it. Like that is
Wait,
like,
what was?
Yeah,
what
no
did
kidding.
you did you pick? You picked Pledge Night, right? Yeah, you did.
I did pick
And
Pledge Night.
what year was that? Was that 93 or was that late 80s?
That was
89.
90.
90. Okay, so a couple years later from this movie, because is this 89?
This is 88.
88. Okay. So 2 years later, we get that scene in Pledge Night where the two dudes are gonna double team that girl, and they're like, "You go first. No, you go first." And she's like, "Well, what about what I want?" So I mean, for these exploitative movies that Matt's picking, I think that some part of the back of your brain is saying like, I want to point out there's a progressive streak in these movies. I don't know, Matt, but I'm just gonna go with that. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll go.
yeah.
The only other thing that I wrote down that's worth bringing up is because this movie is actually this movie and next week's movie both kind of fall into the same category of like way more tame than you would imagine them to be.
We'll
like,
talk
on
about
the violence.
why. You know,
but like we do get that sweet decapitated head being rolled down the bowling alley, which
That
will
is
always put a smile on my face.
Yeah,
That was
but
good.
you have
That
to
was
have
good.
that. If you're gonna have a bowling alley, if you're gonna have a horror movie in a bowling alley, if you don't have a head being used as a bowling ball, don't make the fucking movie.
Then you're a fucking hack. You're a
Yes.
hack.
Yeah.
You're a hack.
It's the same thing with like I've always thought that like any action or horror movie that has a sequence that takes place in a pizza shop and you don't slam somebody's hand through the little like receipt thing on the table, like what are you even doing? Why even use that set
What?
piece?
What? Like, if anything, it should be. They should be putting the.
Do you know what
hand
I'm talking
through-
about?
I
Do
worked at a
either-
pizza place for 7 years in high school and college.
You know what I'm talking about? I just always think about that. I'm
No,
always
it's
like,
not
man, I'm
that.
always
People aren't going to put the hand through that. They're going to put it through the dough roller.
maybe. I just wanted
That's-
someone's
that's-
hand to get slammed.
I just feel like that's too inside
Stigmata
baseball
style,
for
straight-
pizza
Yeah.
places. Like that's behind the wall where they make all the pizza, man. You don't see that every day.
Well, speak for yourself.
I do want to just share one thing that Carly had said because she sometimes likes to pop in and share something. So there's a moment where all three boys are looking. It's the shower scene that takes 10 minutes. They're looking through the door at Brink Stevens, who I like the movies that she's in. I've always found her unattractive. She's just not my style.
She's got a real.
but
I think that she's a lot more attractive in her IMDb picture because she's got the Betty bangs.
Yes.
I think that
yeah,
really works
yeah,
for
yeah,
her
yeah.
face.
Yeah,
Not
and,
this
and
hairstyle.
that's just a personal preference. But she just happens to get nude in every movie, and 13, 14-year-old Kyle was like, "I'm just not into it." But anyway, all three of the men are watching them through the door, stacked on top of each other. To which Carly goes, "So they're just like hard on top of each other, just hard dicks
so
like resting on
Carly,
each other's backs."
This is
up the
college for most boys, like hard on top of
Right.
backs and hard,
Yeah.
on, you know, like
Yeah, me and my roommates did this for fun on like a Wednesday night, like not even looking at anybody,
yeah, just
watching
who
TV.
wants to put your boner on me is the best game.
Yeah, it's fun. But that was my last my last note that I told Carly I would share.
So two things. One is a question, and then the other is about the soundtrack, and then we can go on to our double features. Okay. So the question for you guys is: I was getting a real vibe from the girl dressed as Bride of Frankenstein later on. Were you like the way she delivered her lines? Were you guys getting a vibe? Like someone modern?
I didn't. Honestly,
No.
this is. I tuned out whenever she popped into the screen. I fucking
she's
hated it.
terrible.
Just did not care.
She's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and I tuned out. I didn't get any
That's
vibes
fine.
from her because I forgot she existed.
So I can't really put my finger on it, but I was getting this weird Alison Brie when she's building a character in Glow vibe, and I don't know why. But if you,
I can see that. No.
like, it's
Yeah,
so
like she would have been like
shitty.
one of the failed before she came up with the Russian character, like one of her
Yes.
matches
Okay,
as that
thank you
character.
for understanding.
There you go.
Oh my god, I
That's
thought
beautiful.
that I was insane.
I love that.
I mean,
I wish
any
I watched the
reason
movie
to talk
close
about
enough,
Alison
but-
Brie and Glow. That movie or that
Yeah.
show is just
Show's
gone
great.
before its
Show's
time.
fucking great.
completely robbed.
No doubt.
We're gonna bring up Glow again in a second when we get to what
Ben,
we watched.
you want me to just say the thing about the
Yeah, say your thing. We'll get there, but just put a pin in Glow for a second.
Okay.
1, 2. Oh, kicked out at 2. Oh.
So, the soundtrack, like the theme song from the soundtrack, also gives me a weird vibe. Before the singing starts, it's got like this kind of gallopy thing that gives me a Mega Man theme vibe. Very weird, because I was really into it, and then there's the singing, and I'm like, this is Voyage of the Rock Aliens all over again.
Where's Pia? Pia's somewhere.
Oh yeah, Pia Zadora's like not even getting credited for this movie. But the funnier thing about the I want to say the soundtrack, but let's just say the theme song, because there's not really much orchestration to this film. The man who composed the soundtrack for this film, his name was Guy Moon. He went on to compose music for Fight Club and Minority Report. Those are huge movies. Huge.
That's huge shit.
Is he? Whoa, wait. I thought the Dust Brothers did Fight Club. Is he a Dust Brother?
I mean, his name's Guy Moon. I don't know if he's Moondust brother.
Moondust. That would be sick.
But yeah, I
Gary
was pretty
Moon?
blown away by that. That was my favorite thing that I found from Wikipedia.
That's just lovely, because that just means his portfolio probably included some music from this movie. If that's how this
to
works.
get the
in
job for
in
Fight Club,
90
they were
whatever.
like,
yeah.
we want someone who's an anarchist.
What are your credentials?
You know?
Let me tell you. I was in a band, a particular type of band, Charles Band, but I did work.
That's a good joke.
Hey, thank you. It took me a while to get there. I knew where it was. I knew the end point, but I was like, "Oh shit, I'm going downhill quick."
Wait, hold on a second. It's very rare that we get to make this reference, but are you trying to say that he's with the band? Because you can go and purchase some We're With the Band t-shirts over at hmnpodcast.com.
You listeners have to, because I don't, because I just keep not liking Charlie Bands. But
That's a
I
quite
know that you
popular
guys
shirt,
do.
so you are obviously
It's a great.
in the wrong.
Honestly, it's probably, besides the Bloodhook one that you tuned me into on air, it's my favorite shirt, that horror movie night shirt that we have is I'm with the band. I think it's fucking brilliant.
It's just the one that
it's
you
just not
can't
for me.
in good conscience wear.
It's just not for me. I just can't rep. I just can't rep it appropriately.
It's all right.
But that's okay. That doesn't mean that you can't.
It is mind-blowing
And heartbreaking.
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts,
Movies made of paper.
wherever you get your podcasts.
Free.
All right, Matt. So let's get away from the Bowl-O-Rama and get into some double features. What are you subjecting your poor friends, future enemies, to after this?
Well, we're still sticking around in the Bowl-O-Rama. They're only going to watch half of a movie as a double feature, because we're going to start Cabin Fever, and right around the point where Grimm shows up and starts telling the Bowl-O-Rama story, we're just going to pause that movie and then watch all of Sorority Babes at the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama.
So literally,
and
you
then
have an hour and a half
pick
right
up-
there.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
I
we
like that
didn't call
setup.
out the fact that this bad boy is, 75 minutes long?
It's
or
79
something?
minutes, and that's me being generous.
Yeah.
And do you know how long it took me? 3 viewings, so that's how.
I finished
And
this
I don't-
movie in
I
30
can't-
minutes on Tubi.
I can't totally blame the movie. Like, it was just a busy weekend, but at the same time, it wasn't not the movie.
I was about to say, you can absolutely blame the movie. Like, no
All right,
one's
so
going to
Kyle-
be mad at you.
What
Yeah.
movie are you going to watch to fix the night?
No, so it's like, it's not even about fixing. It's about continuity and consistency and loyalty and completionist. So I'm gonna watch Nightmare Sisters, which was filmed back to back.
Yes,
with
I
know you
kinda had the
you had
feeling.
mentioned it before,
Yep.
but I think actually, like,
Have you seen it?
Nightmare Sisters is I've seen parts of it, and I remember it being a little more fun for some reason. I think they sort of
It's-
leaned more into.
It's also
it being,
more
like, the three of them.
exploitative, so you're getting a
Yeah.
little bit more of everything. Oh,
It's
did I
sort of more of a
mention that? I
Kyle
did not
situation.
mention the fact that Sorority Babes on IMDb is categorized as exploitation/teen, which made me laugh more than anything in the movie, because there are no teenagers in this.
Yeah, that'll get you flagged by the FBI. You don't want to fucking do that.
I'm going to go with what I believe is Dave's best. Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge.
Yeah.
Hey, nice.
What do you want to promote? You doesn't have, I mean, like, whatever you want to talk about.
So here's the thing. I want to go back to the Glow conversation.
Oh, yes, we do.
because I loved Glow. I was late to getting on to well, actually no, I watched the first season of Glow, then I kind of fell off, and then during the pandemic I just started from the beginning and watched everything that had come out at that point. And Netflix used the pandemic as the reason to pull the renewal of Glow.
Bullshit.
Because their reasoning was that they wouldn't be able to film the show for the season for at least another year, and that people would lose interest if they didn't have a new season of a show at least a year after the previous season. Anyway, so I watched Stranger Things season
Exactly.
4.5, which came out 3 years after season 3.
That's 3 years now?
I think it was 3 years.
And we got 2 years
before
to
it
wait
finally
until
came out.
season 5, right?
I think so. So,
God.
Fuck you, Netflix. I know it's your game. But it's fine. I really liked it. I don't understand why the 2.5-hour final episode couldn't have just been 2 or 3 individual episodes, because there's plenty of points where it makes total sense to, like, cut to credits.
Here's the question, though, Matt. Does it even matter if they're going to drop a show in perpetuity, or not in perpetuity, all at once onto a streaming service? You know you're going to binge it in 2 days anyway. What does it matter if there are episodes or if it's literally 10 hours? It's like a 10-hour block. That is okay. Sorry,
That's a great
I sound
question.
way more antagonistic than I am.
No, that's a great question.
I want to know what your opinions are, both of you.
I will answer it to the best of my ability. Actually, what I'm going to talk about next week for What Did I Watch kind of actually goes into that same
Tease the
question
next episode,
and realm.
Matt.
Yeah, so you better watch all the way through next week.
Blue balls for
but-
7 days.
But yeah, I know, I agree with you, but this is why I actually really do support what, like, Disney Plus does and what HBO Max does and what, like, Amazon Prime is starting to do with the weekly drops, because what Netflix tried to do, Netflix will only really do the weekly drops on their, like, reality shows, and even then they drop them like 5 at a time. Like when they did The Circle, they dropped like 4 episodes one week, like 4 episodes the next week, and then the last 3 episodes the following week. And it's like I guess, but like that's not how you build like a reasonable chatter. And they tried to force that with Stranger Things. And again, I see the game that you're pulling, Netflix, dropping season 4 and then saving the last 2 episodes until 32 days, so that if people decided to sign up for 1 free month of Netflix, they had to pay for an extra month to watch the last 2 episodes of the season. I'm not
genius,
an idiot.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's genius.
Fucking genius. That's
genius.
So bad. It's genius.
It's lawful evil on the scale.
Yes.
But it's
for
really
sure.
good marketing.
It's a good final 2 episodes. Did it need to take me 5 hours to watch those 2 episodes? Probably not.
That's why it's going to take me at least until September to finish this fucking season.
For sure. And, all of my complaints that I said earlier in the show a couple of weeks ago, where I said, like, I just wish that the Russia stuff wasn't there. End of this season still felt the same way. Felt like the Russia stuff brought nothing to the table. But it has some good moments. It has some moments that drag, but I will say that there are at least 1 or 2 moments that will live in my brain forever as just being truly badass moments in Stranger Things history. And I mean, when it wants to hit its heavy notes, it does a good job. And it kind of always has done a good job of, like, hitting those notes. And I will quote Joshua from Fright School when he says, like, if nothing else, like, you watch that show and they have nailed the visual aesthetic of what 1986 is. Like, the clothing, the wood panels. Like,
I think that I love, and I said this to Megan. I was like, I am having the hardest time watching this final, or I thought it was the final season. I didn't realize that there was another one. I was like, I'm having the hardest time watching this final but new season of Stranger Things. And she was like, I'm off the train. Like, I'm not going to watch anymore because the last season was boring until the very end. And I'm like, yeah, I think that I like the concept of the show way more than the execution. And that's just me. I'm not the target audience, and that's totally fine. But one thing I'll say is their choice of music for Eddie Munson, the fact that it is exact, I feel like that was too perfect with Vecna and the music choice. and the year that they picked, and this is spoiler free for anybody, don't be upset.
Yeah.
It's just it's like puzzle pieces locking together. Very, very impressed.
Well, that's the thing, is that I don't, when you talk about a lot of other shows, and even, I mean, for Kyle and I as like even wrestling fans, like when you're watching wrestling, they're always telling you like, oh, trust the process, like trust that the story's going to get where it goes. And like 9 times out of 10, it doesn't, because they're just writing it on the fly. But like watching, even feeling that this is like stretched out and too long, I really do believe that everything that we're seeing has been part of the plan from the beginning, because it synchronizes still so well with like the beginning, and that's such a rare thing to find in television in general. Did either of you read the article that I posted from Geekscape that the one writer did about all the pop culture references in season 4?
No, because I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, so what she did was she literally went through season 4, and anytime that there was any type of pop culture reference that wasn't like completely on the nose, right? She would be like, let me research what that thing is and see what it tells me about this show. So I think it's in the very first episode. Will is very excited to tell Mike that he got issue 134 of X-Men. Issue 134 of X-Men is the end of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Oh, yeah.
And
damn it, I fucking did get that ruined for me.
Yeah. And
Spoiled.
It's not just that, it's like specifically that issue focuses on the Hellfire Club. So it's like they have a group of D&D kids that call themselves the Hellfire Club. He's talking about this issue that has the Hellfire Club. It has Mastermind, who is a dude who fucks with your dreams, and it like pushes Jean Grey to like become the next evolution of her telekinesis. So it's like, it's kind of cool where you're like, man, I think that this whole thing has been the Duffer Brothers just desperately doing their own version of Dark Phoenix.
I mean, I'm still on episode 2. Regular listeners know I haven't made it past that in a month.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to be a Dark Phoenix saga, and I have watched enough of the shitty Fox Dark Phoenix saga to know that this is going to be way better.
For sure. And I don't think it's going to be a true Dark Phoenix saga where Elle turns evil, but I do think that in the final season we are going to see such like a crazy where she is like, oh, this is a undeniable superhero at this point. Like,
well, I mean,
like
it's been that for at least end of season 3 anyway.
For sure.
Yeah
Anyway, so that's all I wanted to say. What did you guys watch, and what do you guys want to talk about?
Have you guys ever heard of Grey Gardens, the documentary?
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle has to.
Yes, I fucking love Grey Gardens.
All right, so
I'm sorry, I just
dude,
leaned into the
we
mic
gotta
to
take a
fucking
quick-
tell you.
We got to take a quick pause just because, dude, I just last week talked about how amazing Jinx Monsoon is.
Yes.
And
like,
I was
come
going to
on.
mention it in that episode, but I was like, we hadn't finished Grey Gardens yet, and I'd already had something else to talk about for my What Did I Watch? But holy fuck, guys,
Oh, man.
that is camp. Fucking
Yep.
Pure.
straight up camp. I understand. I mean, like, I'm watching this with Megan. She's like, have you never heard of this? And I'm like, because I lived in a straight bubble for my entire fucking life. Like I had gay friends in college, but there was no like copy of Grey Gardens hanging out in my dorm building.
No, and it's right. It's something that's right on the cusp of being. I don't want to say it's not being lost, right? But it's at the cusp of like not having been relevant for a generation of particularly
it's
like
so weird to watch because it feels so old, but also so relevant for like
yes.
I don't want to say gay culture because I feel like that's limiting, but I also feel like that they're the ones that kind of propped it up for a long time.
Right.
And drag, like gay culture into drag is kind of like, that's what I mean by them propping it up. But it's just a wild watch. And also, I was doing yard work this weekend, and I was just thinking about it after the fact and thinking, like, it's fucking crazy that we have these dynastic political families in America, because America was supposed to be against, like, monarchy. But people will still be like,
Wait,
oh,
Scott, are you telling
Kennedy?
me the American dream didn't play out the way that it was promised?
Quiet you. Listen, what I'm trying to say
There's
is
still
that
hope,
people see a
man.
name and they're like, oh, I voted for you fucking 10 years ago. I'll vote for you again. Are people that dumb? Don't answer that question.
Yes.
Anyway, so Grey Gardens, it is on, is that Hulu or is it Netflix? Doesn't matter. Find it on streaming services. Watch the shit out of it. If you've seen it before, watch it again. When this drops, let's talk about it in the group. It's fucking amazing.
This is not for everybody, and I will start with that.
Oh, it is.
But
It is.
after you watch Grey Gardens, also if it's on Netflix, then also on Netflix, scroll on over to Documentary Now, which was a anthology series that was created by Fred Armisen and Will Forte, where they just did like style parodies of different documentaries. And the first episode is Grey Gardens as a horror movie.
Oh my God. What? It actually might not be for me, but I am willing to take a chance.
That whole show is fucking brilliant.
Dude, the like full season that they did based on Wild Country, where it was like we went into the all-you-could-eat buffet and we licked all of the lettuce to give everybody salmonella.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I'll bring it on home the same way that Chattanooga Film Festival brought it on home for me. It was their closing night film, so I'll bookend it here because I watched a ton of shit in the middle of it. But it was a lot of short films, some foreign stuff. But one that I think that people, our listeners, would particularly like, hopefully it gets a good release, is a movie called Night Shift. 2 words, not Last Shift, which is a horror movie from like maybe 5 years ago now, which
really
is also
movie,
really
actually.
really good.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it in a couple years, so get ready.
Yes, yeah, no, it's great, But this one's called Night Shift, and it's more of a thriller, a single location thriller of a woman who is on her new job as the night shift cleanup crew of a warehouse. This particular one was shot in a furniture warehouse. I don't know if they specifically say that in the movie, but it's just a big warehouse that needs obviously cleaning before the next day starts, sweeping all the sawdust, bathrooms, like organizing whatever. And there are a group of masked assailants that come in and they attempt to attack her. It looks amazing. It's shot so well, and the fact that it was done so on the budget that it was, which was fucking very cheap. They shoot at night because it was a functional warehouse. They only shot on weekends, so they shot it over like 6 months, and the continuity of trying to keep up a thriller that is like a chase thriller in a huge warehouse was just like, it was just incredible. It was very like You're Next without a family. it was very like a woman trying to survive, and I loved it, and it was so well done and very tense and has some great gore scenes too. Highly recommend it if it comes out. And it's easy to see. Even if it's not easy to see, if it's like, if you can grab it on demand or something, like I highly recommend it. Called Night Shift.
I hope that plays fantastic this year.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, it's very fun, and it's tight. It's like 90 minutes, if that.
Love it. Love it.
Great.
Love to hear it.
All right, so we got one last thing, which is of course an email. We got a new email, guys. I sent a screenshot to both of y'all already, but we're gonna read it anyway. From Ron from New Jersey. He says, "Hey guys, I've been listening to the podcast for a very long time, and I love what Scott and Matt do. Kyle is taking a little bit to get used to, though, because his taste in movies are as bad as his taste in states. I mean, come on. Connecticut, it's completely useless. What do they have? Yale? What? That's about it. It's really just a more pretentious version of Rhode Island. When you want a beach, you come to New Jersey. We got good food. It's the same thing. Anyway, I love the podcast. I hope it gets bigger. Now I wish that I had a Patreon before I heard that Solar Babies was a choice for watching. Great pick, by the way, Scott. That's a hell of a movie. Looking forward to the future of the show and hopeful return of Brian, because it's so fun listening to how unprepared he is. Keep up the great work." Ron from New Jersey. That email was essentially just a roast of Kyle for half of it. Mm-hmm. Slight backhand compliment on the "I wish it would get bigger."
I see you looking for Brian. I hear you. I hear.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.